Hello there YouTube, it's Lewis back with another video by LP1 Spirit Guidance. This is another deck review video. Today we are going to be reviewing the Silver Witch Tarot, if you didn't guess by the title of this video. Now what I will say before I begin is I have had this deck for 3 years. It was my first tarot deck. It's also the first deck one of my close friends got herself, which was a nice little quinky dink. I'm going to go over some of the cards. We're going to have a look at the deck itself. On the note of the box, it wasn't that big of a loss, if I'm honest. It's a pretty simple box, typical standard box size to fit a standard size tarot deck. I'll do the research and have a look at the author of the deck, and I'll put that in the description. But yeah, it was my first tarot deck. We didn't get along too well in the beginning. Yeah, it took a while, which was ironic being my first deck, but at the same time, judging from where I was at that point, it kind of makes sense. As I was saying about the box, very simple plain box, High Priestess on the front, silver writing, the booklet inside that gives you all the details of the cards, was a very boring paper book, black and white, with just the descriptions of the cards and what they meant. So for me, it's a more of an intuitive deck. I look at it and get my own message from it, which I think is the best thing to do with most decks, really. I do love a bit of coffee. It's probably a bit late in the day, but I've not got work tomorrow. I've got nothing to worry about. Oh, so right, let's begin. So, you're probably wondering, oh God, he's got no box for it. What does he do with it? So, my silver tarot sits in this lovely little bag here. I like giving my decks tarot bags. I don't like keeping them in the boxes too much. My oracle cards is a different sort of story because the boxes 9 times out of 10 are very beautiful, whereas tarot cards, unless they're in the big glorious boxes, which I do keep, as you saw my line strider in the previous tarot card review, I don't really keep them in them. I like to give them their own bag so they can just chill and do their own thing. Probably what some of you probably do understand why I'm talking about tarot cards in that way. For me, my whole belief with things like this is very much how I picked it up from the Japanese. Big fan of Japanese stuff, especially anime, of course. You can't see by the manga in the frickin' background. Just to let you know, this is my dragon deck. This isn't part of the review. I just wanted him sat there because that's one of my numerological cards, Platinum Dragon. But the Japanese believe everything has its own soul, even inanimate objects, which I must have resonated on some level with, because when I used to play Yu-Gi-Oh! In the younger days, probably going, it's not that old. I'm 29 this year, man. Look at these laugh lines. Look at these laugh lines. These have accrued over 3 years. Spirituality, it's good for you. I've accrued those laugh lines over 3 years. Good work, hard work. But they do believe everything has its soul. So when I used to play Yu-Gi-Oh! I used to always put my deck under my pillow. Which, funnily enough, is one way to bond with your tarot cards, would you believe it or not. And, of course, before I knew this mythology. And to know that back then I was essentially bonding with my Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck was quite nice, because back then it was a case of, if you kept up with the anime, it was the first series was all about having belief in the power of the cards. Those who watch Yu-Gi-Oh! Will know what I'm talking about. It's very unlikely someone is watching this who actually does know of Yu-Gi-Oh! If you do, bump me, brother. Bump me. Or sister. Bump me. Oh, I probably should have said something else. I mean, if you're a big, tall, muscular, yeah, definitely bump me. Bump me, please. I'm just messing. Right, so should we get to the point? So, this is our Silver Witch Tarot. This is our back. It's a nice triple moon goddess symbol on the back. It's your standard tarot deck. Everything's in your standard Rider-Waite numerology. So 8 is Strength, 11 is Justice. The only deck I've encountered where that's different, aside from one I've made myself, which is not finished yet, is the Thoth by Aleister Crowley. Now, I will get you the information on the author of this deck, so you can actually find it a lot easier, hopefully, if you're interested in buying it, which I do kind of recommend. It's, again, very different imagery. It's not like the rest of my decks. A lot of my decks are very artsy-fartsy because I'm an artsy-fartsy person. So I've got the Impressionist Tarot, which is a wonderful tarot deck. I'll review a different time. I'm not going to go into too much about that. It's artsy-fartsy. It's wonderful. Now you know. Whereas this one, it's a very feminine deck. If you're looking for that sort of feminine power deck, this is probably your go-to. Now, my friend does have this, and she does a different... Her perspective on tarot decks and how she uses them is a little bit different to what I do. So she believes every deck has its own personality and thinking, which is absolutely true. Everything's got its own soul. And her deck is very... It's a sassy cow, to put it straight. The way her deck speaks to you is in a very sassy, almost swore, no-nonsense way. It likes to call you out. There's no being wishy-washy with my friend's deck. Whereas this one, if I'm going on my mythology, there's a part of me in every single one of my deck because I've bonded them. I've put my soul into, part of my soul into this deck. My energy's in there, so it's essentially, with every deck, I'm talking to myself. Good inner dialect. That's a good thing. So here's our strength card. This one's a little bit more masculine than your standard one. Don't you agree? Because it's not a very feminine person stood with a lion. It's quite masculine, which is different. It's very different. Next we have the wheel. This is a theme that you will see in the deck quite a bit. The mother, the crone, and I can't remember the third one, and the daughter, I think. Is it the daughter, the mother, and the crone? Comment, let me know. I can't quite remember. It's been a while since I've done the whole witchcraft thing. The Chariot, as you can see, they're quite old. They've been through a rough life. Very different themes in these cards. I like it. Let's see if we can find something a little bit more different. Ah, yeah, there's one. So 6 of Wands. Ah, dropped it. 6 of Wands, in the standard Rider-Waite, you know it's a guy on a horse, victorious. Whereas this is a little bit more marriagey. This has got a very 4 of Wands feel to it rather than the 6 of Wands. So that's nice and different. I like variation. Variation's good. It's good to have decks that have a different opinion on a situation or energy. 7 of Wands. There's still that level of adversity, just without the physical struggle. Bit more poverty, I'd say. Adversity through poverty, which would have been essentially more like the Pentacles. Our Magician, a very studious young lady when I can learn to pluck. But as you can see, there's a lot more femininity in these cards. There's a lot of feminine power. As a divine feminine, I suppose it's only right this was my first deck, really, isn't it? 2 of Pentacles. Definitely not out of balance. She's not juggling. She's just feeling those energies with those pentacles. Page of Wands. She's a wild-ass woman. Probably likes to play with fire too much. I think this Page of Wands is going to end up getting burnt by that fire. But as I said, yeah, it's a nice deck. Let's see if I can get you the Empress. Two of my favourite cards in this deck are the Empress and the Emperor. Because again, I'm a big fan of Japanese mythology. They are one of those, I believe they are where the whole term of the red thread originated. So you know where I'm going with this, obviously. So there's our Empress. And I do want to go over the Lovers as well. I want to show you the Lovers, because the Lovers is quite, to me, is quite special in this deck as well. Oh, we do have a variation before I find the Emperor. So this is what would normally be the Hierophant. Instead, we have the High Priest. In very much the same motif as the High Priestess, which is cool. It's cool. I think so. With this deck, you could do a nice relationship reading. You know, High Priest comes out. High Priest like they're a couple. They're a couple. Maybe a more religious couple, essentially, because he is all about religion, and she's the keeper of Akashic records. So you could be looking at when they come out, maybe a more traditional sort of wedding. Oh, there she is. Speaking of the lady herself, the High Priestess. Get Nathan closer, you can look at her. But like I said, very much the same motif with the High Priest, which is cool. I like that. I like recurring themes. I like stuff like that. I want to dig out the Tower as well. I do want to dig out the Tower as well, because that one spoke to me quite loudly when I first started studying the deck. I'm actually taking my time a little bit more with this thing. I think I did rush. Considering it was my favourite deck, I rushed the Line Strider Tarot. I did rush it a bit, I think. But I was quite nervous. I've gotten some more confidence in retrospect. Oh no, where's the Tower? That's the first time you're ever going to hear someone panic. Where's the Tower? I've lost the Tower. Oh, let's have a quick flick quickly. Ah, there we are. Whew. So, there's that. Did I get the Lovers? I am all over the place for a second video. This is terrible. Ah, it's not that bad. It's something for you guys to chill, just watch, relax, get some information, maybe some inspiration. Ah, there we are. Right. Get that out of the way. Let's get all... We've looked at those. We've looked at those. So first, I wanted to go over the Lovers card from this deck. So here you've got a nice couple tied by the red thread, a spiritual wedding, a fastening. But my late realization is the stone underneath them. Looking very old, weathered. So this Lovers for me is a couple that stood the test of time. It's an older couple, but they're still young at heart. They still have that love, and it's built on good, solid foundations. It may be weathered, but it's still standing strong, just like them. So it's a really nice Lovers card for me. The Tower's interesting because this made me think about an issue maybe with myself, where you've got the bird sat in the nest, and of course you've got the red bird just flying away. And I think that's Daddy. Daddy's leaving. Which tells you a little bit about me, not too much, I hope. But it's quite a sad and solemn card. It's not so much the Tower's usual... the Tower can be quite unnerving. In the instance, when you first learn about tarot and you understand the Tower's initial message, it's very unnerving when you see it pop up in a reading, like, oh no, it's all coming down. But with this, it's a little bit heartbreaking. Because most birds, they mate for life, and see Daddy Bird flying off, it's a bit sad, you know? But on to more positive messages, so we're going to get to this. So I think the Lovers we saw are the young Empress and Emperor. And I'm going to get it right. Yes, the cards do go together. But as you can see, they're tied by this red thread. Yes, it's not equal on the card. I'd have to raise it a little bit for it to be thingy. Yeah, that makes her higher than him. But it's really nice. It's got the astrological callings to it. It's got the red thread, the divine feminine, the divine masculine. She's pink, he's red. It's just a really nice coupling card. So if you got that in a reading for someone, you'd go, oh, you too. It's nice. It's a nice deck. I don't think I could have asked for a better first deck, honestly. I don't use them enough. It's probably because they are as old as they are, and it's a case of they've been worn and torn as much as I just don't want to do them more damage. I mean, when it comes to personal readings, I tend to give my the person I'm doing the reading with a the bag they're in. They're not. I send them a picture of the bags I've got that each of the decks are in. I let them pick the bag, in a hopes that they're more pulled to one deck rather than the other. And I just think they deserve to be in bags. And this deck, yeah, she's an old gal. She's an old gal. But I would recommend getting it. It's a nice deck, especially if you're into your witchy, paganistic stuff, a bit of Wicca. I think this is definitely a very, that sort of orientation of tarot for someone who's into that sort of stuff, which thankfully my friend is, and that was her first deck, so it must be. So maybe the author was a bit herself. Like I said, I will get hold of the author. Yeah. I hope you've enjoyed this review of the Silver Witch Tarot. If you could like, comment, and subscribe, leave your thoughts and opinions on what you think of the deck. Subscribe and keep up to date with me. I will be doing more reviews of all the decks I've got. I am planning to buy more because I found out the Lion Strider author did 2 others and I want them. And you can never have too many decks. Even if you're just a collector, I think they're also a very cool collection item, especially if you keep them in the box, which I don't do. Right, guys, thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this review of the Silver Witch Tarot. Until next time, take care.